The mine had been sealed for nearly 3 decades when the instruments first detected movement inside. At first, it looked like an error, a brief fluctuation in underground sensors, the kind caused by shifting rock or temperature drift. But the readings continued. Something beneath the surface was changing, and when the inspection team finally entered the mine to investigate, they left far sooner than planned. The site sat in a remote valley, once part of a mid-sized industrial mining operation that closed after repeated structural instability made further excavation unsafe. Over time, the entrances were reinforced and locked, and the tunnels were left to settle naturally. The inspection team's task was routine: assess structural decay, measure gas buildup, and confirm that the sealed sections remained stable. At first, everything appeared normal. The air was dry and still, preserved by years without disturbance. Dust coated the rails where ore carts once moved. Their lights revealed timber supports warped with age but still standing. The silence inside the mine felt complete, absorbing every footstep and echo before it could travel far. About 40 minutes in, the first anomaly appeared. One of the environmental sensors recorded a brief drop in air pressure, followed by a slow rise that didn't match outside conditions. Mines often breathe slightly as temperature changes above ground, but this fluctuation was irregular. It repeated again several minutes later, as if air was being displaced deeper inside the tunnels. The team paused to recalibrate their instruments. Equipment interference was common underground, especially in older sites where metallic deposits could disrupt signals. But when they continued forward, another detail became difficult to ignore. Small fragments of rock lay scattered across the tunnel floor, fresh debris, lighter in color than the surrounding dust, as if recently dislodged. No blasting had occurred in the mine for decades. As they moved deeper, sound began behaving strangely. The mine carried vibrations differently than expected. Twice, members of the team reported hearing faint shifting noises ahead, not loud enough to identify, but rhythmic enough to feel deliberate. Each time they stopped walking, the sound stopped as well, leaving only the low hum of their equipment. Their communication radios began cutting in and out shortly after entering a secondary shaft that had once connected to deeper extraction zones. Static interference increased without clear cause. One technician noted that signal loss seemed to occur in pulses rather than gradually, as though something within the rock was briefly blocking transmission. The mine maps showed no recent collapses, and no known openings that could explain airflow or movement. Still, the atmosphere had changed. The air felt warmer than expected at that depth. Condensation formed on colder surfaces where none should exist. These were small inconsistencies, individually explainable, but collectively unsettling. Then, one of the motion sensors placed behind the team registered activity. At first, they assumed it was falling debris triggered by their own movement. But the reading showed displacement moving slowly across the tunnel they had already passed through. Not a collapse, not a single event, a gradual shift. The team turned back to confirm visually. Their lights illuminated nothing unusual. The tunnel remained empty, silent, unchanged. Yet the instruments insisted something had moved. They continued forward. But from that point on, every sound felt amplified by uncertainty. The deeper sections of the mine had been sealed for safety reasons years earlier. No one expected activity beyond natural geological settling. Still, something inside the mine was moving, and no one yet understood why. The further the team advanced, the more the mine resisted simple explanation. The tunnel narrowed as it descended, forcing them to move in single file. Airflow increased unexpectedly, brushing past them in slow, intermittent drafts that seemed to come from deeper sealed sections. According to the original mine plans, those passages should have been completely isolated. A second motion reading appeared roughly 20 minutes later. This time it wasn't behind them. It came from below. The mine had multiple vertical shafts connecting different excavation levels, most reinforced and sealed after closure. One of these shafts showed faint air movement rising upward, carrying with it a damp mineral smell. When the team lowered a camera into the opening, The image flickered repeatedly before stabilizing. Dust particles drifted upward in steady streams, as if displaced by subtle movement deeper underground. No collapse sounds followed, no sudden shifts, just slow, continuous disturbance. As they reviewed the footage, another problem emerged. The mine's internal layout no longer perfectly matched the archived maps. A passage that should have ended in a reinforced wall appeared partially open, blocked only by loose rock. The opening was narrow, but airflow passed through it steadily, suggesting a connected space beyond. This was unexpected. Sealed mines normally become increasingly still over time, not more active. The team advanced cautiously. Temperature readings rose by several degrees, inconsistent with the surrounding geology. Heat underground usually spreads evenly, but here it appeared localized. One researcher noted that certain walls felt faintly warm to the touch, as if heat were being generated somewhere beyond the visible tunnels. Communication issues worsened as they moved forward. Radios dropped entirely for several seconds at a time. When signals returned, transmissions overlapped or echoed, creating brief confusion about who was speaking. The mine's acoustics seemed to distort direction, making it difficult to tell where sounds originated. Then came the most concerning observation. Fine dust began falling intermittently from the ceiling, not in sudden bursts, but in slow, repeated releases. Each fall coincided with faint vibrations felt through the ground, subtle enough that they might have gone unnoticed without sensitive equipment. The readings suggested movement occurring somewhere below their position, shifting gradually rather than collapsing. The realization changed the tone of the investigation. This was not random instability. Something underground was actively altering pressure and structure over time. The team debated whether groundwater movement or delayed structural failure could explain it. Abandoned mines often change slowly as water re-enters old tunnels, dissolving minerals and weakening supports. But the pattern here seemed directional. Movement appeared to travel through the mine rather than occurring in isolated pockets. When they reached the partially opened passage, airflow intensified. Their lights revealed fresh fractures along the rock edges, sharp and clean compared to older erosion. The opening led into darkness beyond the mapped sections of the mine, areas never fully documented during operation. The motion sensor alarm triggered again, this time directly ahead. No visible movement followed, but instruments recorded displacement beyond the tunnel wall itself, as though something large had shifted through an adjacent void. The sound that followed was not a crash, but a long, low, grinding vibration that faded slowly into silence. That was the moment the team decided to stop advancing. The environment no longer behaved predictably. Structural conditions were changing faster than expected for an abandoned site. Continuing deeper meant entering areas without reliable maps, communication, or confirmed stability. They began withdrawing toward the entrance, moving steadily but without panic. Yet even as they retreated, sensors continued registering movement deeper inside the mine, slow, persistent, and ongoing. Whatever was happening underground hadn't stopped, and it wasn't clear that it ever had. In the weeks following the inspection, geological analysis began to provide possible explanations for what the team experienced. None of them suggested anything unnatural, but together they painted a complex picture of how abandoned underground environments can evolve long after human activity ends. One leading theory involved gradual subsidence, the slow collapse and rearrangement of underground cavities over time. When mines are abandoned, support structures decay while surrounding rock adjusts to the absence of removed material. This process can take decades, producing intermittent movement as pressure redistributes through connected tunnels. Water infiltration likely played a significant role as well. Over years, groundwater can seep into sealed mines, dissolving minerals and weakening rock layers. As water shifts through hidden channels, it can create pockets of air displacement and localized temperature changes. Rising warm air detected by the team may have resulted from geothermal gradients interacting with newly opened voids. Another factor considered was underground microbial activity. Deep subsurface ecosystems, though invisible, can slowly alter environmental conditions. Certain bacteria generate heat through chemical reactions, involving minerals like iron and sulfur. While small individually, these processes can affect temperature and gas composition over large areas given enough time. The rhythmic pressure fluctuations recorded by sensors were eventually linked to ventilation dynamics. As external temperatures changed between day and night, air moved through newly formed cracks and passages, causing the mine to effectively breathe. These cycles could explain both the airflow and the intermittent sounds mistaken for movement. Yet one detail remained unresolved. The directional nature of the shifting suggested that entire sections of the mine were still settling in sequence, not randomly. Geological surveys later confirmed that deeper, undocumented tunnels may have existed beyond official maps, areas excavated informally during the mine's final years. Without precise records, predicting how these spaces would collapse or stabilize became nearly impossible. For safety reasons, authorities decided not to reopen the deeper sections. The risk was not immediate disaster, but unpredictability. Mines undergoing long-term structural adjustment can remain unstable for decades, with changes occurring slowly enough to escape notice until conditions suddenly shift. The safest decision was to reseal access and monitor the site remotely. The inspection team's early departure was later described as precautionary rather than urgent. Still, several members noted how unusual the experience felt. Not because of fear, but because of the mine's subtle sense of activity. A place abandoned by people, yet still changing beneath the surface. Today, the entrance remains closed. Sensors continue to record occasional movement, consistent with geological settling. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden, just slow transformation occurring far below ground, beyond direct observation. Abandoned mines are often thought of as frozen in time, preserved exactly as they were left. In reality, they continue to evolve, shaped by pressure, water, heat, and time itself. What the researchers encountered was likely the mine returning to a natural state, a process measured not in days or years, but in decades. And perhaps that is what made the discovery unsettling. Not the idea that something unknown was moving in the dark, but the realization that the underground world never truly stops moving at all, even when no one is there to see it.